Good morning to everyone. First of all, thank you very much to the organizers of this seminar for inviting ATEB to share our point of view of what these 100 years of bitumen emulsion had been in Spain. Our presentation will be presented between myself as president and Nuria Huguet as technical manager in ATEB. Okay, this is the agenda. The points that we are going to deal with are the following. The historic context, market evolution, the development of bitumen emulsion, and the success of techniques with bitumen emulsion. According to the historic context, we have to consider the bitumen emulsion technique in Spain has a very long history, 100 years, and this is what we celebrate during this year. And in 1903 was the first known surface application of bitumen emulsion, especially for dust treatment. 20 years later was the first patent granted in UK, and the first emulsion facilities in several countries. We had facilities in United States, France, UK, and Germany. From 1930 to 1950, we live a slow but progressive growth of bitumen emulsion during this year, competing with hot asphalt mixes. And after 1970, emulsions take off and their techniques due to the energy crisis. In Spain, emulsion were used for a lot of application during these years as slurry seals, open cold mixes, grab emulsion, surface dressing, and cold recycling also. From the 19th to the first of this century, the emulsions that have the greatest potential of growth were for cold recycling, for in-place cold recycling, surface dressing, and also high viscosity emulsion, and others like high float emulsion produced with PMB. Since then, the new challenge for emulsion had been according environmental constraints and pavement preservation needs, which for which bitumen emulsion offers some of the most reliable answers. During these 100 years, the developments for bitumen emulsion used in the road industry in Spain and more notable milestones were the wearing surface dressing with polymer modified emulsions, the slurry surfacing system, and microsurfacing even for highways and airports, non-sticky emulsion for tag coats, and coal-in-place recycling using a special emulsion to use a high content of recycled materials.
If we talk about market evolution in Spain, we can say that the evolution of the emulsion market has been variable, peaking in 1994 at 650,000 tons. In 2002, ATEB was founded, and since then, an annual production survey has been carried out. The data of this graph come from this survey. We can see that the emulsion production has been decreasing since 1994, reaching a minimum in 2020, the year of COVID. In 2022, last year, 110,000 tons were produced, which means almost 6 times less than in 1994. The production of emulsion is normally linked to the production of hot mix asphalt, due to the use of emulsion as a bonding layer. The data used in these two graphs come from EAPA. Similar trends in emulsion and hot mix asphalt production can be seen in this graph on the left. In 2014, something anomalous can be observed. The graph on the right shows the percentage of bitumen consumed in Spain that goes to the manufacture of bituminous emulsion. In Spain, this ratio is usually 50%, but again we can see a very high value in 2014.
Now I'm going to present how bitumen emulsion in Spain have been developed along these 100 years. The first emulsion that were used in paving works were anionic emulsion. This type of emulsion, strongly affected by weather conditions, give way to cationic emulsion that began to be used around the 50s and solve some adhesivity problems to aggregate of different nature composition, chemical composition, and whose breaking behavior could be chemically controlled. Then came the emulsion produced with polymer modified bitumens that provide residual binders with better rheological properties. All of this was possible thanks to the developments in the facilities and in surfactants, making possible the production of emulsion with high bitumen contents, even when this is a polymer modified bitumen. Another milestone reached in Spain was the development of anti-stick emulsion for tack coats with a high effectivity and thanks to the emulsionability of hard bitumen with or without additives. Following with that, I would like to finish listing some of the opportunities to arise for bitumen emulsion, many of which are already possible. Sustainable bitumen emulsion for all the techniques. You know that using emulsion we could improve the sustainability of asphalt mixes. One example of this is emulsion for warm mixes that are produced at temperature below 100 degrees. Another opportunity is for micro and nano emulsions with a smaller particle size than conventional ones. Also, the high concentrated emulsion that could be very interesting for reach the binder content with a low amount of emulsion and controlling all the humidity in the mix and so on. And also multiple emulsion, unimodal and bimodal emulsion for different type of application, where we can select the more adequate in its application. And the last one I have listed the crown rubber bitumen emulsion, because in Spain we are using a crown rubber modified bitumen, and is a challenge to produce emulsion from this type of crown rubber bitumen. And that's all. Thank you.
To finish our presentation, we are going to talk about some examples of success of techniques with emulsion in Spain. We are going to talk about hard-worn mixed asphalt, cold-in-place recycling, and microsurfacing. It is very important to say that what is standardized is usually better received. The Public Works and Transport Ministry have regulations concerning to cold-in-place recycling and also slurry surfacing. But we also have recommendations from some regions like La Junta de Andalucía in the south and the Basque Country in the north, and also from some associations such ATEB, Road Technical Associations, and also ATEB. To start, we're going to talk about hard-worn mixes that are produced with emulsion in a hot mix plant. and at a temperature between 80 and 100 degrees. In Spain, we have done more than 1,400,000 square meters of this technique, and most of them has been produced in the Basque Country because they have regulations for this kind of mixes. And they allow to use this kind of mixes when the traffic is lower than 200 trucks per day. The advantages of this kind of mixes are lower energy consumption and emissions because the temperature of the mix is between 80 and 100 degrees. And the laying temperatures are between 80 and 60 degrees, depending on the kind of mix. High percentage of wrap can be used, even we can reach 100% of wrap. As we are working with a lower temperature in comparison with a hot mix asphalt, the residual bitumen of the emulsion has a moderate aging. And as we work with lower temperatures, we improve the safety of workers. There are some programs like C.FOUCHARD that can make comparison between different techniques, and they measure different things. For example, energy of production. Here we can see a comparison between a hot mix asphalt and a hot warm mix asphalt. And we can see that when we work with warm mix, we can save 13% of energy because we need less energy to heat the aggregates and to produce the mix. The next technique we're going to talk about is cold in place recycling. Now in Spain we have new regulations. Its name has been changed. We don't use anymore recycling, we talk about reuse. So we could say that now in Spain the cold in place recycling is called cold in place reuse. This new regulation allowed to widen the scope of application of this kind of mixes, and now non-graveled layers can be reused. In Spain also this regulation says that the reuse of pavements is imperative as a standard solution when it's technically and economically possible to use them. And we can say that in Spain we have more than 50,700,000 square meters done with these techniques. The advantages of this kind of mixes are that you minimize the waste generation because we use 100% of wrap, reduce the consumption of raw materials like aggregates and binder, reduce the needs for transport, reduce the energy used in manufacturing because we're working at room temperature, moderate aging of the residual binder of the emulsion because of the same we are working at room temperature, and we also improve the workers' safety. With C.FOUCHARD, we can see an important reduction of energy consumption or greenhouse gases due to the minimization of transport and the manufacturing temperature, which is, as we told before, at room temperature. To finish, we're going to talk about microsurfacing. Here in Spain, it is standardized, as we said before, for the Public Works and Transport Ministry. We can use it in all types of roads, highways, little roads, even we can use it in airports. In our regulation, we have different gradations, and now we are starting to incorporate wrap in this kind of mixes. Since 2002, in Spain, we have done more than 270 million square meters of this technique. And which advantages does the microsurfacing have? Well, reduce the consumption of raw materials like aggregates or binder because the layers are very, very thin. Reduce energy used in manufacturing because it's a cold technique. Moderate aging of the residual bitumen of the emulsion because, as we said, it's a cold technique. And when we use this kind of mixes, microsurfacing, we waterproof the pavement and improve the skid resistance, so we can make them long last. lasting mixes. And also we improve workers' safety. And thank you very much for your attention.